ЦИВИЛ Медиа.
Actually, the last sentence of Goran is bridged my presentation, but I want to talk about it, which is educational system and civil society connected to education all around Europe, because I represent also one European organization, which is called EUROCLIO, which unite basically history educators from all around Europe and those who teach the subject of civic society, so-called. And I want to start with many recommendations and declarations made by very important international organizations like UN, EU, OSCE, Council of Europe. They produce thousands of declarations and recommendations to the governments, especially to the governments. Yeah? And majority of the governments signed them. But this is the theory. What is happening in the practice? Do they implement them? Obviously, not all of them very successfully. Otherwise, they will not establish very close cooperation with civil societies. Because obviously, education system in any country is very robust, very slow for changes. And because of that, they opened a lot of space for involving civil societies in dealing with that kind of problems in any society. This phenomenon of antisemitism is nothing new. The new is that is reviving again, is going even more, to be even more visible, especially thanks to the new modern way of communications, the social networks and so on. But if you're talking about the region where we belong here, let's say Western Balkan, this is the newest name of this region. I never liked that name because it suggests something wild, yeah, like Wild West. But we are not such a wild in comparing with, or more wild, in comparing with some other regions in Europe, where especially far left, far right political parties grows rapidly. Some were taking the power and even support a speech of hate. And some of them even start with hate propaganda, which is even more dangerous than hate speech. Yeah? Of course, everything starts with hate speech. Even the first hate speech of Hitler, we know how that ended up. The first hate speech that he delivered was in 20s, but many other years after that, we know what's happened. Here in the Western Balkans, unfortunately, we have a tendency of rehabilitation of some historical persons with a very black background from the past. I will mention some of them. Our colleague Betty from Bulgaria, she already mentioned General Hristo Lukov. We know about that march, but maybe something that we didn't know is that they start to take over also the celebration of the National Day of Bulgaria. So they don't celebrate only the general, they start to take over the National Day of Bulgaria, which is not connected with them. And they organize huge, enormous march of 10,000 people last year. And they will going to repeat that this year. Let's mention the rehabilitation of Dmitry Ljotic, the leader of the right-wing party during the Second World War in Serbia, or Milan Nedic, the prime minister of the Serbia during the Second World War. Should I mention the names from Croatia? There is plenty of them, with the where they go through some kind of process of rehabilitation. Not very often, that process is supported by the government or political parties in mentioned countries. If we compare Macedonia with those in the region, in a way we can be satisfied, let's say. We are not on that level of anti-Semitism as our neighbors. But education has a meaning of prevention, you know. It's a preventive system in any country. There is another system which should punish the anti-Semitism movement and so on, because my attitude is that we need a zero tolerance about hate speech, hate crime, hate propaganda, and anything that can destroy the society where we live. And not only our society. Here in the Balkan, we are very connected, you know. So a problem in one country means automatically a problem in the neighboring country. And because I'm coming from the education, I would like to share something with you, because I'm provoked by discussions before that we should start with ourselves. I believe that most of us have fly with the commercial flights, with the plane, and you always go through the procedure of safety procedure. Yeah? In a moment, the lady or the guy will say, in the case of losing the oxygen, the mask will drop from above you, and they say, if you're traveling with a kid, put your mask on yourself first, then to your kid. When I hear that first time in my life, I said, oh, it must be wrong. You should help the kid first. But no, there is and I would like to compare that with the education. We as teachers, we as educators, we should start from ourselves. And I'm not sure that we in our society, in neighboring societies, we do that. We don't starting from ourselves. Otherwise, the incidents like this one that we saw, I don't know in which occasion was that photo of James Bond and... April. 1st April, okay. Or sometimes, I know about the situation, it was a big scandal in Belgrade a couple of years ago when in the school was playing the role play. Okay, half of the students are Nazi soldiers, half of the students are prisoners, Jews. And the kids become such a deeply involved in that, they continue to play that out of the school, after the classes. I mean, it become real. So that's why I'm saying that I'm not so sure that we put the mask to ourselves first, you know? So we should do that, how to put that mask on to our self first. I mean, I don't see any other solution than long life learning, you know? Same constant education of the educators first. Otherwise, if they are not educated, it's better not to educate anybody. They can make more damage than the help in the educational system. I don't say this only for Macedonia. I can freely say that in the name of the whole region where we belong and parts of the Europe, because I have that kind of overview of what's going on as a president of EUROCLIO organization, and we're talking about it. Yeah? I mentioned that the educational systems everywhere are very slow. They don't react very effectively, and they are not able to recognize first, because if you work in prevention, first you should be able to recognize the situation. No, education systems usually react after something happened, but then it's too late. Yeah? Then it's too late. And we as a civil society, when I say we, I mean those which are present right now, and I see some of them in the public, plus many others, they need to work in close cooperation with authorities in this country, which is not the case, especially in the educational system. It's not the case. Whenever we propose something, some programs and so on, they have difficulties to accept that. First to understand it, second to accept it. I will give you an example that next week I will go in Bratislava. OIC will organize a big event with high-level representatives about dealing with the anti-Semitism. But the idea of the conference is how to connect and to use the power of civil society and how to closer cooperate with OIC in fighting anti-Semitism. Obviously, they address first official educational systems everywhere. Obviously, that doesn't work well. I don't say with zero results, but obviously not what they expected. And now there is a situation to invite us as a civic societies to discuss and to offer our services. Because, you know, civil society here in Macedonia, in the region, very often is seen by the authorities as somebody, enemy is too difficult word, competitive, but not as a partners, which is a shame. Together we can do much more. If I have a time, maybe some short ideas that we are doing all the time. It's a part of our job. Antisemitism is not the something that you do through the project. It's everyday life, everyday work in your classroom. It should be a cruise curriculum mentioned all the time, you know? Because in Macedonia we have two words for education. We divide the education in two parts. We said obrazovanje, which is education directly, and vospitanje. For that vospitanje, I don't have a proper English word. It will be something like upbringing or, you know, about the moral, about your behavior everywhere in the society and so on. And in our situation here in Macedonia, education about the knowledge only, who, when, where. That's what they get in the school. They don't get nothing more. Actually, they don't learn. They remember. But what should they do? They should develop skills for the life, which skills can be based on moral, based on the mutual understanding, based on the critical thinking, of course, based on multi-perspective approach of the things, dialogues, and things like that. But unfortunately, it's not visible that in our system. And I can freely say, because I am born here, 35 years ago, I finished my secondary school, something like that. I don't see big difference when I was a student and now when I am a teacher. I mean, in the system. If something happened, it's not positive, it's not the result of the system, it's the result of the private initiatives through civil society, and so on. So I hope that I give some kind of overview of the situation and what we are doing. And unfortunately, I mentioned a couple of times, if we are doing together, in the cooperation with the institutions, the results will be much higher, much better than what we have now. And maybe the last sentence is that we still cannot find the right way to fight with the internet literacy and social medias, because I know what is going in the classroom, I can understand what is going in the families, but I don't understand as a teacher what's going on the social networks, which are mainly closed places of youngsters. So we don't know what's going over there and what kind of hatred they spread, or somebody try to involve in the kind of activity. So we are still unarmed about it. But if we work together, we can find a way to deal with that and to fight it.
ЦИВИЛ Медиа